In this episode of the podcast, I am going to get into how the hell I am able to do all the things that I do, make massive income without burning myself out. You see, people ask me all the time, how the heck do I do it all? And I'm going to tell you exactly how we make lots of money doing very little in order to serve one type of client, and you can do it too. So I'll see you inside the show.
Welcome to the Spiral Up Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Wieme, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiral Up Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Wieme, and it is so much fun to be here to talk about something that I get asked all the freaking time. They're like, Lachelle, how do you manage it all? You seem like you're the busiest person I know. And I think that is so interesting because I'm like, okay, either I should take that as a compliment that they think I'm accomplishing a lot, or like, wait, do they not see that I'm like living like a really great balanced life behind the scenes? And I think that it comes down to the fact that I do have my hands in a lot of things, that I am making a lot of really big strides and big impact in a lot of different ways. But I also have learned to stay out of the hustle for the sake of hustling. And I've learned how to essentially manage it all. And I had a friend of mine recently ask me, she's like, Lachelle, how many streams of income do you have? And I don't know, I thought about it for a second. I'm like, I don't know, like 7, 8. And then I thought about it for like a day and I'm like, wait, I counted like 11 or 12. And I remember it was like this cool aha moment for me when I remembered being introduced to Dave Ramsey years and years ago and really being fascinated with this concept of wealth because I was somebody who grew up with very little. My mom and dad did not have a lot of money. They reinvested whatever income that they got back into the farm, and they didn't even own a house, you guys, until I was 18 years old. Like they rented. And I did not have a lot growing up. And so wealth was a foreign concept to me. And I remember being introduced to Dave Ramsey and really fascinated how regular people can create a legacy and lifetime of wealth and be able to live and give like no one else. And I remember him saying that the average millionaire had 7 streams of income. And I remember thinking like, okay, that makes sense. That sticks with me. But I think a lot of people assume that that means that you're going to have to be busy and hustle and have your hands in a lot of different pots and not rest if you want to exchange, a life of not having money to having money, that it requires that you work hard. It requires that you have to hustle. It requires that you have your hands in a lot of things. And what I'm going to tell you right now is that that is not true. That even though I have 11 or 12 streams of income, they're very, very intentional. And that what you're going to find is that the ways in which I bring in additional income for my family is because I integrate them with one main intention. And that has been my secret sauce. And so when you recognize that you actually can have it all, that you can have multiple streams of income, that you can allow your passion and your portfolio to work for you, everything starts to fall into place and you can actually experience more wealth with less hustling and less grind, right? Okay, so how the hell do I do that? I'm just going to tell you that I want you to step back and I want you to think about, who do you love to serve? Who do you love to serve? I think about that for many of us, especially as entrepreneurs, it comes down to, what have we been through in our past and how are we able to essentially serve a past version of ourselves, right? And I think about like my clientele are really people who want to have consistent 5-figure months without working 24/7. Like, hello, that was me 5 years ago when I was struggling with balancing everything. I was working a full-time job. I had a husband and kids that I loved dearly, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have a life of regret and growing old and missing out on all of the things that are important. I also felt like I had this greater calling and mission that I couldn't ignore. And so I had all of these pieces of me, and I am a high achiever, and I was doing all the things, checking all the boxes, thinking that if I just did more of this and more of that and more of that and more of that, then eventually this, intense, hustle and devotion is going to pay off in the long run. Meanwhile, I was burning myself out. Meanwhile, my husband is like, Lachelle, at what cost? Like, this is hard on you. And I don't know if this is worth it. And thinking about, like, in my mind, there was only one way that this had to happen. And so that's who I get to serve now. And so I'm going to ask you, who do you love to serve? And most likely it's going to be who you were 2 steps ago, 2 years ago, whatever the case may be. All right. And then you have to ask yourself, all right, what problem does that person have? And for me, it was like, I wanted to know how to choose my strategy, how to execute that strategy that actually worked, and make money so that I could be a more present mom and wife, that I could be able to travel the world. I wanted to be able to make an impact and an income. I wanted to know that I was making a bigger difference than I was, getting somebody through an hour surgical procedure as an anesthesia provider. I wanted to make a bigger difference, but I also want to be more present with my family. And I wanted to know how. How do I make that happen? And in my process of figuring out how I got to do it, and how it worked for me, and recognizing that when I applied those same principles to more than one person and I kept seeing it work, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the problem I solve. And this is how I can solve it. I can't wait to show up. All right. And so I want you guys to think about that in terms of who would you love to serve and what problem do you solve? Okay. Now, when we think about that, I use that as kind of my flagship. So it's the thing that I do that I light up. It makes the world of difference to me. I feel like I am fulfilling my calling and my purpose, and it's helping somebody else, and I can charge for it, right? So when I think about that, I really love to really dive in and get to know that person on a deeper and deeper and deeper level. Because what you're going to find is that that person is complicated. That person is multifaceted, just like you were. That person needs support in more ways than one. And what I want you to do is to recognize, how can you continue to serve this same person at a higher level, and a higher level, at a higher level, in a different way, in a different angle? How can I serve this one person even better than I used to? And what happens is, the more that you're able to integrate more ways to serve this one person, the more you're going to find additional ways to bring services in, additional streams of income that allow you to serve this one person. And when you do that, you recognize that your marketing efforts, your sales efforts are all going to become aligned with the same person. That you don't have to reinvent the wheel on 10 different things. You can actually focus on one thing and allow the message to just hit on more than one avenues to help this one person. All right. So I'm going to give you some examples of some of my income streams that I use to help me make this happen. All right. So I think about my flagship program is Spiral Up. So this is the program that I use to help people to scale to 5-figure months consistently without working 24/7. And I specifically love working with solopreneurs who are in the service-based industry. And I find that most of my clientele are women. And I find that many of us have a family, so we're moms and we're high achievers. And many of us have had a corporate job that we've been successful in. Most of them are educated, so they're not it's not foreign to them to have to work hard for something, work hard for a degree, or to try to balance a lot of things, right? And so when I think about that, I make sure, first of all, that that flagship program is serving her as best it can. And so I understand her. I understand what her struggles are. I understand what keeps her up at night. I understand what she's secretly Googling. to try to find a solution, or the conversations that she's having with her chat GPT. I can tap into what that looks like to have a secret, authentic, vulnerable conversation with your bestie on a text message. I understand that. Why? Because it was me. And that the more that I can tap into remembering what that feels like, the more I can tap into my current clientele and learn where they're struggling and understand what they need, the more that I get to create the program or the services that are going to serve her. And so what you're going to find is in my program, for example, I know that it cannot just have strategy. I know that people come to me all the time that they're like, Lachelle, I've tried all of these other strategies and it doesn't work. And it seems to work for everybody else. So I must suck, or this isn't supposed to be what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, neither of those are true. But chances are there are some subconscious limiting beliefs and toxic thought patterns that we have to address first in order for you to be able to make the decisions that are necessary to execute those strategies. Because honestly, I cannot tell you the number of times early on in my career, I would tell people what to do. I would give them the strategy. I would give them the script. I would tell them, here, post this, and they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, freaking A, I cannot give you strategy and expect that you're going to have, business from it if you're not willing to do the freaking strategy. And I recognize in that moment that it needs strategy and it needs the mindset work behind it to understand, why are you not doing what you want to do? You say you want to post, but you're not posting. Why? And I'm able to understand and get to the root causes of those subconscious beliefs, those limiting thoughts. And I've been able to add methodologies and training and certifications in order for me to do that really, really well. I also recognize that my clients and myself on this journey get cleared up with the mindset stuff. But because they're overachievers, they tend to still want to do all the things. Like, they're so freaking coachable. I am so freaking coachable that I'm going to do everything you tell me to do. But friends, like, that sometimes can burn us out, or it doesn't feel aligned. And I have to ask myself, okay, do I have resistance around doing this because I have a fear behind it? Or do I have a resistance to doing it because it's not a aligned strategy for me, that it worked for her, but it didn't, that's not for me. And so I was able to add this piece into my program where I help people to essentially know how to discern whether a strategy is for them, and asking God yes, no questions, and literally getting the answers where you trust yourself well enough to answer, or to trust the answers, and then getting into the strategy that aligns with that. Okay. But in order for me to have that realization and create that beautiful program, I had to understand where she was coming from. I had to understand what was holding her back and what needed to be included to help her. Okay. All right. So now I have this. This is like my flagship program. But what I found in my experience as a coach and as an entrepreneur and as a business consultant is that there are going to be people that are not ready to invest in something for 12 months, or they're not ready to, they have deeper healing to do. And so rather than pigeonhole everybody to my flagship, I created another way of serving. And so now I have another program in here called Foundational Healing that just serves people who maybe aren't even in business at all, but they recognize that they have some healing to do in order to have that purpose birth, to be able to have the confidence enough to even think about starting a business, or just have a better relationship with their husband, or just have more confidence in themselves. And I saw the need that those people needed that first. And sometimes that's the case. And so I created something within it that is going to serve the same person, but in a different way, or somewhere different on their journey, if that makes any sense. Okay. And then I have another part of this program that is just for people who have already worked on all this stuff, but they're ready to like scale, level up faster. And I take them to double, triple, 4 times their income working with me. And now they find that now they're at this up next level. And now they're like, oh my gosh, here's a new comfort zone that I have to beat. Or here's a new level of, now I have to hire people. And what does that look like? And so when we think about that, it's the same person still. She still wants to scale to consistent 5-figure amounts without working 24/7, but it's a different way of serving her. Does that make sense? And so I'm creating new ways to have the service of this one person, depending on where they're at in that journey. Okay. Now, I also think about one of my streams of income is my book, right? So here's my book, Get Out of God's Way. Guess what? Get Out of God's Way serves the same person. It's the person who wants a big business. This literally says it. It says, get over yourself and step into the beautiful purpose he has for your life and business. We allow toxic thought patterns. We allow things that are not allowing us to trust ourselves get in the way of our success. We have strategies, but we don't execute them because of X, Y, or Z. That's what this book is about. And now I have royalties from both the Audible version and the printed version coming in as another stream of income, right? So then I think about another stream of income that I have is from my my quantum software that I use on all my clients, because I see that people have faster results when they use this piece of equipment. And because of the equipment is not licensed to me, it's licensed to somebody else and I get to use it, it's an additional stream of income because I have purposely signed up for the affiliate part of their program. And so whenever I recommend it to my client, because I know that it works and I know that it's going to get them results faster, I get an additional stream of income every single time somebody uses it, every single month, right? Same client, different way to serve them. Now I can bring in my retreats, right? My retreats are like everything I do in my coaching, but like throwing gasoline on the fire because we get really fast results, really intimately, and it's this luxury experience, right? I'm serving my same clientele, but in a different way and a different experience. And I can bring that in as additional streams of income. You guys following me here? And so what I want you to do is to think about it in a sense of, we're not pigeonholing ourselves, because God knows I hate boxes. I hate somebody telling me what I have to do. But I want to be able to step into my authenticity and to serve at the highest level possible. And that's how I'm able to do this, is I think about what lights me up. And oftentimes I refer to this gentleman that I learned from years ago, Mike Kim, who talked about discovering what your secret passion and your mission is in life. And it's, what are you passionate about? What lights you up? What pisses you off, right? And who needs your services? And when you can allow for that Venn diagram to come in where people are willing to pay for that, what's the same thing that lights you up and pisses you off? And I'll tell you, it's like, what lights me up is having somebody learn what you're fully capable of and watching your business and your life thrive because you are in your zone, right? Like that lights me up so that I could allow people to see what's possible when you trust yourself and you trust God, and allowing like literally people to experience things that they never could have experienced before. That lights me up. What pisses me off is when people get in their own freaking way. What pisses me off is that I see people tell me their dreams, and then as soon as somebody insults them or poo-poos their dream, or they get a no or whatever, that they completely give up. That pisses me off. And so what do? I recognize that people need help with that. They want help with that. They're willing to pay for it. And I get to help people get out of their own stinking way in order to have the life that they want. Do you see how all of those things come together? And I've created, a sense, the things that I'm doing to help with that. I monetize my podcast, monetize YouTube. Guess what? They speak to the same person. I think about the multiple different ways that I introduce different program experts and just things that I use for my ideal client that I actually have affiliations of get affiliate rewards from. They're things that I would recommend anyway for the same person because I know them so well. I'm like, oh my gosh, you need this book. And there's another stream of income, Amazon recommendations, right? If you think about like, oh my gosh, like I worked with Dr. Erin Haskell on my E4 trauma method. I believe in her program and her coaching so much that she and I worked out a deal where when I bring in my clients, because I believe in her program so much, I don't want to train people I don't want to certify them to be coaches. She already does a great job. So instead, she gives special things, for me and my clients when they come into her program. And it gives me the satisfaction to know that they're being taken care of, that I'm fulfilling a need that I know they have, and I'm bringing in additional income from that. And so I want you to understand that you can create massive income without having to hustle 24/7. If you know your client really well, because you understand them, because it's likely who you've been, and you don't scatter yourself all over the God green earth, right? You allow for yourself to know them so well that you just continue to find ways to serve them, continue to find ways to serve them. Another income stream that I have are homeopathic drops that I personally use that help me sleep better. They give me more energy, and they keep my waistline where I want it to be, because perimenopause is real. Okay. Since I've been using these drops, I sleep better at night. I don't need naps, and I have been able to maintain or drop a couple pounds. What does that do? It gives me the confidence to stay in front of camera. It gives me the confidence to show up on stage. It gives me the rest that I need to show up for my clients. It gives me the energy that I need to do my best during the day, right? All of those things still serve my ideal client. So when I have one of my clients telling me, Lachelle, I have all these big dreams, but I cannot stay consistent and I'm all over the place, then I say, hey, how's your focus? How's your sleep? How's your energy level? And they're like, oh my God, it's shit. Guess what? This is something I'm going to recommend to you, right? So understand, allowing yourself to enjoy multiple ways to help the same person is going to give you multiple ways to bring in income. I think about another one I have. I have 2 lake homes now that I use on Airbnb. One of them I've used in the past to help people write books. The other one I used for retreats. And they're both Airbnbs. Guess what? They're helping the same client, right? There are multiple ways, friends, that you can bring in income. And then, of course, I take all of my profits and I reinvest them into stocks, and I reinvest them into mutual funds. That's another stream of income coming in, right? And so I could go on and on about all the different ways, but you'll see that there's a theme in the center of all of them. And instead of scattering my interests all over the place, I'm focusing on how can they integrate in multiple. It's almost like thinking about multiple waterfalls all feeding into one river, or multiple rivers feeding into one main river that takes you to the ocean, right? And I want you to ask yourself, does this serve my ideal client? Is this an easy way for me to integrate more ways to help them without me having to add a lot of extra effort? Then I can tell you that it is possible, and that you're going to be able to make a bigger impact, have more time freedom, bigger income, so that you can continue to help these people even more because you understand this philosophy. So I hope that this helps. I hope that it gave you some ideas. I hope that it gave you some hope. And I would love to know, like, send me messages, like, tell me about your streams of income. Tell me how they're all serving this one client. Like, I want to hear from you guys, because this is fun when it's a two-way street, right? So like, get into my DMs, get into, tag me in your stories and tell me what you got out of this. Tell me about your streams of income. Share what you're doing, because I want to cheer you on, because together we get to make a big, beautiful world. The bigger the income, the bigger the impact, the bigger I can give back, the bigger my mission. It's beautiful. And so I want all of you guys to know that it's possible. And here are a couple of tips to help that happen.
So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to im-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.